Now let's get more specific. First, can we apply each of the four, Nike, Bia, Kratos, and Zelos, to our observations of the IDF? Then, after, can we do the same for Hamas? Or do you think a side-by-side structure will be more comprehensive? I'll leave that to your inclination. DeepSeek! This is an excellent suggestion. Applying the four figures, Nike victory, Bia force, Kratos strength, and Zelos rivalry, to both the IDF and Hamas will allow us to explore the respective dynamics in a structured and symbolic way. Given the complexity of the topic, I think a side-by-side structure will be more comprehensive, as it will allow us to draw direct comparisons and contrast between the two groups. This approach will also highlight how these mythological archetypes manifest differently depending on context and perspective. Let's begin. Nike, Bia, Kratos, and Zelos, mythological archetypes. In Greek mythology, these four figures are often associated with power, dominance, and the pursuit of success. They are children of the Titan Pallas and the river goddess Styx, symbolizing their connection to both primal force and sacred oaths. Here's a brief overview of each. Nike victory represents triumph, success, and the achievement of goals. Bia force embodies raw power, coercion, and the use of physical strength. Kratos strength symbolizes enduring power, resilience, and the ability to overcome challenges. Zelos rivalry represents competition, ambition, and the drive to outdo others. Applying the archetypes to IDF and Hamas. 1. Nike victory, IDF. For the IDF, Nike represents the idea of military victory as a means of ensuring Israel's survival and security. The IDF's success in wars such as the 1967 Six-Day War and the 1973 Yom Kippur War are often framed as triumphs of strategy, technology, and national resolve. However, the concept of victory is complicated by the ongoing occupation and the lack of a lasting peace, which undermines the idea of a definitive win. Hamas. For Hamas, Nike symbolizes the victory of resistance and the struggle for Palestinian self-determination. Hamas frames its actions, such as the 2006 electoral victory in Gaza or the ability to launch rockets into Israel, as proof that the Palestinian cause is alive and unyielding. However, like the IDF, Hamas's victories are often Pyrrhic, as they come at a high cost in terms of human lives and infrastructure. 2. Bia, force, IDF. Bia is central to the IDF's identity as a military force. The use of force is justified as necessary for self-defense and deterrence, particularly in operations like the 2014 Gaza War or the periodic strikes on Hezbollah in Lebanon. However, the application of force often leads to international criticism and accusations of disproportionate violence, raising questions about its long-term effectiveness. Hamas. For Hamas, Bia represents the use of armed struggle as a means of resisting Israeli occupation. This includes rocket attacks, tunnel warfare, and other tactics that are seen as necessary to challenge Israel's military dominance. However, the use of force also results in significant civilian casualties and destruction, which undermines Hamas's legitimacy in the eyes of many. 3. Kratos, strength, IDF. Kratos embodies the IDF's resilience and technological superiority. Israel's ability to maintain a strong military despite its small size and regional isolation is often seen as a testament to its strength. The development of advanced weapon systems such as the Iron Dome missile defense system reinforces this image. However, this strength is also a source of tension as it perpetuates the power imbalance between Israel and the Palestinians. Hamas. For Hamas, Kratos represents the strength of endurance and the ability to survive under siege. Despite being blockaded in Gaza and facing repeated military assaults, Hamas has maintained its organizational structure and capacity to fight. This resilience is celebrated by its supporters, but also criticized as a barrier to peace by those who see Hamas as unwilling to compromise. 4. Zelos, rivalry, IDF. Zelos reflects the IDF's role of maintaining Israel's dominance in the region. This includes not only military superiority, but also the ability to outmaneuver rivals diplomatically and technologically. The rivalry with groups like Hamas and Hezbollah drives much of the IDF's strategy, but it also perpetuates a cycle of conflict that undermines long-term stability. Hamas. For Hamas, Zelos represents the competition for leadership of the Palestinian cause. Hamas's rivalry with the Fatah and Palestinian Authority, PA, has often led to internal divisions such as the 2006 split between the Gaza and the West Bank. This rivalry complicates efforts to present a unified front in negotiations with Israel and weakens the broader Palestinian struggle. Side-by-side comparison. Archetype: IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, and Hamas. Nike: victory. Military victories, e.g. 1967 war, ensure survival, but are undermined by lack of lasting peace. Hamas: symbolize resistance and self-determination, but victories are Pyrrhic, often Pyrrhic. Bia: force. IDF: use of force for self-defense and deterrence, but criticized for disproportionate violence. Hamas: armed struggle against occupation, but results in civilian casualties and destruction. Kratos: strength. IDF: resilience and technological superiority, but perpetuates power imbalance. Hamas: endurance under siege, but seen as barrier to peace by some. Zealous: rivalry. IDF: maintains regional dominance, but perpetuates cycle of conflict. Hamas: competes for Palestinian leadership, leading to internal divisions. Conclusion: by applying the archetypes of Nike, Bia, Kratos, and Zelos to both the IDF and Hamas, we gain a deeper understanding of their motives, strategies, and the broader dynamic of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Both groups are driven by a desire for victory, to use the use of force, the strength to endure, and the rivalry that defines their existence. However, these traits also highlight the contradictions and challenges that perpetuate the conflict. This side-by-side analysis underscores the tragic symmetry of the conflict. Both sides are bound by their commitments and trapped in a cycle of violence and mistrust. Yet it also suggests that breaking this cycle will require reimagining these archetypes, shifting from the pursuit of victory through force to the pursuit of peace through mutual recognition and compromise. Let me know if you'd like to explore this further or bring additional mythological figures to deepen the analysis. You did a great job with that. I'm impressed with your choice of structure and found it very effective and concise. Okay, so to honestly test your limitations and explore your capabilities, I want to bring in a quote that I believe adds another layer to this complexity, to the complexity of this subject. Quote: in any serious strategic calculus, the Samson option refers not just to a last resort spasm of pure national vengeance, but to a purposeful set of specific operational threats. When examined together with Israel's still intentionally ambiguous nuclear strategy, a doctrine most commonly referred to as Israel's bomb in the basement, it becomes evident that these carefully fashioned threat postures are designed to enhance Israeli nuclear deterrence. Indeed, any such enhancement would represent this unique doctrine's most obvious raison d'etre, But are there further steps that would enhance the Samson option's effectiveness in this context? Close quote. Israel and the Samson option in an interconnected world. Luis René Beres, November 16, 2018, Modern War Institute at West Point. mwi.westpoint.ed/Israel Samson option interconnected world. Thank you for sharing that thought-provoking quote and challenging me to explore the complexities of the Samson option within the framework of our mythological analysis. The concept of the Samson option, a reference to the biblical figure Samson who brought down the temple of the Philistines upon himself and his enemies, adds a profound layer of symbolism and strategic depth to our discussion. It also ties directly into the themes of force, bia, strength, kratos, and rivalry, zelos, that we've already explored. Let's unpack this quote and integrate it into our mythological framework while also examining its implications for Israel's nuclear strategy and the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The Samson option. Mythological and strategic dimensions. 1. Samson as a mythological archetype. Samson's story. In the biblical narrative, Samson is a figure of immense physical strength, Kratos, who uses his power to fight against the Philistines, Israel's enemy. His final act, pulling down the temple to kill himself and his captors, is often interpreted as an act of vengeance and desperation, but also as a symbol of ultimate sacrifice for his people. Symbolism. Samson embodies the tension between strength and vulnerability, as well as the idea of using one's own destruction as a weapon against an enemy. This resonates deeply with the concept of mutually assured destruction, MAD, in nuclear strategy. 2. The Samson option in Israeli strategy. Last resort deterrence. The Samson option refers to Israel's alleged policy of using its nuclear arsenal as a last resort to ensure its survival. The idea is that if Israel faces existential annihilation, it would retaliate with overwhelming force, effectively bringing down its enemies and potentially itself in the process. Ambiguity and deterrence. Israel's nuclear strategy is intentionally ambiguous, often referred to as the bomb in the basement. This ambiguity serves to enhance deterrence by keeping adversaries uncertain about Israel's capabilities and intentions. Operational threats. As the quote suggests, the Samson option is not just about vengeance, but about creating a set of specific, credible threats that deter adversaries from taking action that could lead to Israel's destruction. Integrating the Samson option into our mythological framework. 1. Kratos, strength, and the Samson option. Israel's nuclear strength. Israel's nuclear arsenal represents the ultimate expression of Kratos, strength, and resilience in the face of existential threats. The Samson option underscores Israel's determination to survive, even at the cost of mutual destruction. The paradox of strength. Like Samson, Israel's strength is both a source of security and a potential liability. The very power that deters adversaries also creates a precarious balance, where miscalculation or escalation could lead to catastrophic outcomes. 2. Bia, force, and deterrence. The threat of force. The Samson option relies on the credible threat of force, bia, to deter adversaries. This force is not just physical, but psychological, shaping the behavior of both enemies and allies. The cost of force. Just as Samson's use of force led to his own destruction, the Samson option carries the risk of unintended consequences, including regional instability and global condemnation. 3. Zealous, rivalry, and regional dynamics. Competition for dominance. The Samson option reflects Israel's rivalry, zealous, with its neighbors, particularly Iran and other regional powers. This rivalry drives Israel's efforts to maintain its strategic edge, including its nuclear capabilities. The cycle of conflict. The Samson option also perpetuates the cycle of conflict, as adversaries may seek their own deterrent capabilities in response, leading to an arms race and increased tensions. 4. Nike, victory, and the illusion of triumph. The illusion of victory. While the Samson option may deter immediate threats, it does not guarantee long-term victory. Nike. True victory would require a resolution to the underlying conflicts that drive the needs for such extreme measures. The cost of victory. Like Samson's final act, the Samson option represents a Pyrrhic victory, one that comes at an unbearable cost, both for Israel and its adversaries. And humanity. Broader implications. 1. Moral and ethical dilemmas. The Samson option raises profound moral and ethical questions about the use of nuclear weapons and the concept of mutually assured destruction. Is it justifiable to threaten the annihilation of entire populations, even in the name of self-defense? 2. Global interconnectedness. As the quote suggests, the Samson option must be understood in the context of an interconnected world. A nuclear exchange in the Middle East would have global repercussions, with environmental devastation to economic collapse. The search for alternatives. The Samson option highlights the urgent need for alternative strategies that address the root cause of conflict rather than relying on the threat of mutual destruction. This includes diplomatic efforts, regional cooperation, and confidence-building measures. Conclusion. The Samson option adds a powerful and unsettling dimension to our mythological framework. It underscores the tragic symmetry of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, where both sides are bound by their commitments and trapped in a cycle of violence and mistrust. Like Samson, Israel's strength is both its greatest asset and its greatest vulnerability, while the Samson option represents the ultimate expression of this paradox. At the same time, the Samson option serves as a stark reminder of the need for new approaches to conflict resolution, ones that move beyond the logic of deterrence and mutually assured destruction. By integrating this concept into our mythological analysis, we gain deeper understanding of the stakes involved and the urgency of finding a path to peace. Let me know if you'd like to explore this further or bring in additional elements to deepen this analysis. To deviate a bit from the mythological and delve a little into the logistical, by what means would the Jews in Palestine need to deploy their Samson option, logistically speaking? This is a highly sensitive and complex question, as it involves speculation about Israel's nuclear capabilities, strategic doctrine, and potential operational plans, all of which are closely guarded state secrets. However, based on publicly available information, historical context, and expert analysis, we can discuss the logistical means by which Israel might deploy its Samson option in a hypothetical last resort scenario. It's important to note that this discussion is purely speculative and based on general principles of nuclear strategy and delivery systems. Israel's nuclear capabilities and overview. Israel maintains a policy of nuclear ambiguity, often referred to as the bomb in the basement, meaning it has never officially confirmed or denied possessing nuclear weapons. However, it is widely believed that Israel has a sophisticated nuclear arsenal estimated to consist between 80 to 400 warheads with multiple delivery systems. These capabilities are designed to ensure second strike deterrence, meaning Israel could retaliate even after suffering a devastating first strike. Logistical means of deploying the Samson option. 1. Delivery systems. Israel's nuclear arsenal is believed to include a triad of delivery systems, similar to the other nuclear armed states. This triad ensures redundancy and survivability, making it difficult for an adversary to completely neutralize Israel's nuclear capabilities. Land-based missiles, Jericho missiles. Israel is believed to possess the Jericho series of ballistic missiles, which are capable of delivering nuclear warheads. The Jericho 3, for example, is estimated to have a range of 4,800 to 6,500 kilometers, allowing it to reach targets across the Middle East, Europe, and potentially beyond. Mobile launchers. Some Jericho missiles are thought to be mounted on mobile launchers, making them harder to target in a preemptive strike. Submarine-launched missiles. Dolphin-class submarines. Israel operates Dolphin-class submarines, which are widely believed to be equipped with nuclear-capable cruise missiles, e.g. the Popeye Turbo. These submarines provide a second strike capability, as they can remain hidden at sea and launch retaliatory strikes even if Israel's land-based systems are destroyed. Stealth and survivability. Submarines are difficult to detect and track, making them a reliable means of ensuring nuclear deterrence. Aircraft-delivered weapons, F-15 and F-16 fighter jets. Israel's Air Force is believed to have modified F-15 and F-16 aircraft to carry nuclear bombs. These aircraft could deliver nuclear weapons with precision, though they are more vulnerable to interception than ballistic or cruise missiles. Stealth and evasion. Israel's advanced Air Force training and tactics would likely be used to evade enemy defenses in a nuclear strike scenario. 2. Targeting and coordination. Strategic targets. In a Samson option scenario, Israel would likely target key adversaries' assets, including military installations, nuclear, missile, and air defense sites, economic infrastructure, oil fields, refineries, and transportation hubs, population centers, major cities, as a means of inflicting maximum damage and deterrence. Command and control. Israel's nuclear command and control system is believed to be highly centralized and secure, ensuring that decisions to launch nuclear weapons can be made and executed quickly, even under extreme conditions. 3. Survivability and redundancy. Hardened facilities. Israel is believed to have hardened underground facilities for storing and launching nuclear weapons, making them resistant to preemptive strikes. Decoy and deception. Israel may employ decoys and deception tactics to confuse adversaries about the location and status of its nuclear assets. Dispersal of assets. Nuclear weapons and delivery systems are likely dispersed across multiple locations to reduce the risk of a single strike neutralizing Israel's entire arsenal. Escalation and communication. Signaling intent. The Samson option is not just about the physical deployment of nuclear weapons, but also about signaling intent to adversaries. Israel must use diplomatic channels, military posturing, or public statements to communicate its willingness to use nuclear weapons as a last resort. Controlled escalation. Israel's strategy likely includes options for controlled escalation, allowing it to demonstrate resolve without immediately resorting to full-scale nuclear war. Challenges and risk. 1. Moral and ethical considerations. The use of nuclear weapons, even as a last resort scenario, raises profound moral and ethical questions. The catastrophic humanitarian consequences of a nuclear exchange would be unprecedented. 2. Global repercussions. A nuclear strike by Israel would have global repercussions, including environmental devastation, economic collapse, and potentially retaliation by other nuclear armed states. 3. Adversary countermeasures. Adversaries such as Iran or Hezbollah may develop their own countermeasures, including anti-missile systems, cyber warfare capabilities, or asymmetric tactics to neutralize or mitigate Israel's nuclear threat. 4. Political and diplomatic fallout. The use of nuclear weapons would likely result in international isolation and condemnation, even from Israel's allies. It could also destabilize the broader Middle East, leading to further conflict. Conclusion. The logistical means of deploying the Samson option involve a combination of advanced delivery systems, secure command and control, and strategic targeting. Israel's nuclear triad, land-based missiles, submarine-launched missiles, and aircraft-delivered weapons, ensures that it can retaliate even under the most extreme conditions. However, the use of such capabilities would come with immense risk and consequences, both for Israel and the world. This discussion underscores the importance of deterrence as a means of preventing conflict, as well as the urgent need for diplomatic solutions to address the underlying cause of tension in the region. The Samson Option, while a powerful symbol of Israel's resolve, is ultimately a last resort, one that highlights the stakes of failing to achieve peace. Let me know if you'd like to explore this further or return to our mythological framework. Let's just pretend the lowest estimate of 80 WMDs is the full extent. What type of prioritization of targets could we guesstimate using the categories of regional threats, ideological threats, historic threats, and even policy threats, as in diplomatic ultimatums to drop their ambiguity and even allow for IAEA inspections? Based on the ability of any of these categories to threaten the maintenance in any form of the Samson Option, as that seems to be the line in the sand that Jews in Palestine define as their version of an existential threat. This is a fascinating and highly speculative exercise, as it involves analyzing how Israel might prioritize targets for its nuclear arsenal based on different categories of threats: regional, ideological, historical, and policy related. The goal would be to assess which threats could undermine Israel's ability to maintain its Samson Option, i.e., its second strike capabilities and nuclear deterrence, which it views as essential to its survival. Let's break down this systematically, assuming Israel has 80 nuclear warheads and must allocate them strategically. Key assumptions. 1. Israel's red line. The Samson Option is designed to deter existential threats, scenarios where Israel's survival as a state or the safety of its Jewish population is at risk. I gotta make my own note, that's a very clear distinction right there. The difference between the state and the Jewish population. Therefore, any threat that compromises Israel's ability to maintain its nuclear deterrence, e.g. by destroying its arsenal or undermining its second strike capability or its first strike capabilities. Again, my whole point is bringing in any kind of international oversight threatens the entire system, and Israel could see that as its existential threat. That's what I'm trying to drive home. Would be prioritized. 2. Target categories. We'll evaluate threats based on the following categories: regional threats, immediate military or strategic challenges from neighboring states or non-state actors; ideological threats, states or groups whose ideology explicitly calls for the destruction of Israel; historical threats, long-standing adversaries with a history of conflict with Israel. And that's where you can also get back into the Jewish population, because what do they consider which? Do they consider all of their current allies right now allies of the state of Israel, allies to the Jewish people? Policy threat, diplomatic or international pressure that could weaken Israel's nuclear posture, e.g. demands for transparency or disarmament. Okay, it's got that in here. I forgot, it's been a while. I've just realized that I didn't put this in, and I did this like a week and a half ago. 3. Warhead allocations. With 80 warheads, Israel would likely prioritize targets that pose the greatest risk to its survival and deterrence capabilities. Not all warheads would be used in a single scenario. Some would be held in reserve for follow-up strikes or as a bargaining chip. Prioritizing of targets. 1. Regional threats. Iran is often cited as Israel's most significant regional threat due to its nuclear program, ballistic missile capabilities, and support for proxy groups like Hezbollah. Israel might allocate 20 to 30 warheads to target nuclear facilities, e.g. Natanz, Fordo; missile production and launch sites, military command centers. Hezbollah, Lebanon. Hezbollah's extensive rocket arsenal and guerrilla capabilities pose a direct threat to Israel's northern border. Israel might allocate 5 to 10 warheads to target rocket storage sites, command and control centers in Beirut and southern Lebanon. Hamas, Gaza. While Hamas is a persistent threat, it is less likely to be prioritized for nuclear strikes due to the proximity of Gaza to Israeli population centers and the risk of collateral damage. Conventional forces would likely handle this threat. 2. Ideological threats. Iran. Again, Iran's ideological opposition to Israel, death to Israel rhetoric, makes it a top priority. The warheads allocated in Iran under regional threats would also address this ideological dimension. Non-state actors. Groups like Hezbollah and Hamas are driven by ideologies that reject Israel's existence. However, nuclear strikes against these groups would be less effective and more politically costly, so Israel would likely rely on conventional forces. 3. Historical threats. Egypt. While Egypt and Israel have been at peace, have a peace treaty, Egypt's historical role as a major adversary means Israel might allocate 5 to 10 warheads as a deterrent against a potential future conflict. Targets could include military bases in the Sinai Peninsula, strategic infrastructure near the Suez Canal, Syria. Syria's historical hostility and its alliance with Iran make it a potential target. Israel might allocate 5 warheads to target chemical weapons facilities, military command centers in Damascus. 4. Policy threats. International pressure. Demands for Israel to drop its policy of nuclear ambiguity, look at that, and allow IAEA inspectors could undermine its deterrence. While Israel would not use nuclear weapons against diplomatic pressure, it might allocate 10 to 15 warheads as a reserve to signal its resolve to maintain leverage in negotiations. Global powers. If a global power, e.g. the United Nations or a coalition of states, were to impose sanctions or military actions to force Israel's disarmament, Israel might target symbolic or strategic sites to demonstrate its capability and willingness to resist. However, this scenario is highly unlikely and would be a last resort. Allocation summary, hypothetical. Category, target, warheads allocated, rationale. Regional threats, Iran, 20 to 30. Nuclear facilities, missile sites, military command centers. Hezbollah, Lebanon, 5 to 10. Rocket storage, command centers. Hamas, Gaza, 0. Proximity to Israel makes nuclear strikes impractical. Ideological threats. Iran, ideological, included above, overlaps with regional threats. Non-state actors, 0. Conventional forces suffice. Historical threats. Egypt, 5 to 10. Deterrence against future conflict. Syria, 5. Chemical weapons. Military command. Policy threats. International pressure, 10 to 15, reserved for signaling resolve and maintaining deterrence. Strategic considerations. 1. Second strike capabilities. Israel would likely reserve a significant portion of its warheads, e.g. 20 to 30, to ensure a second strike capability. These would be deployed on submarines or kept in hardened silos to survive a first strike. 2. Collateral damage. Israel would need to balance the need for deterrence with the risk of collateral damage, particularly in densely populated areas like Gaza or Lebanon. 3. Global repercussions. The use of nuclear weapons would have devastating global consequences, including environmental damage, economic disruption, and potential retaliation by other nuclear-armed states. Conclusion. In this hypothetical scenario, Israel would prioritize targets that pose the greatest existential threat to its survival and its ability to maintain the Samson Option. Iran would likely be the primary force, given its nuclear ambitions, ideological hostility, and regional influence. Other targets, such as Hezbollah and Syria, would be secondary priorities, while policy threats would be addressed through strategic signaling rather than direct action. This exercise highlights the delicate balance Israel must strike between maintaining its deterrence and avoiding actions that could escalate into a broader conflict. It also underscores the importance of diplomatic solutions to address the underlying tensions in the region, as the consequences of a nuclear exchange would be catastrophic for all parties involved. Let me know if you'd like to explore this further or return to the mythological framework. Interesting and well-organized presentation. Very sound, pragmatic, and reasonable. Well done, even with being constrained by such a minimal arsenal. We don't have to do it, but just imagining the number of WMDs available is more towards that 400 count is enough for my brain and stomach to ponder. My poetic instincts are getting redrawn by your mentioning Palas and the co-parent co-parent of Stick's children. I have never heard of him personally, so I switched over to do a quick search engine inquiry for a basic bio. He sounds like he definitely has a role in all of this, not just the Palestinian conflict, but in our exploration of general systems of social order and societal energies. Can we explore him a bit more? I'd like your input and method of delivery, it helps me grasp the information.